So we've been an investor for a long time, so I obviously believe. And initially when we invested, it was making me crazy when I was seeing some of the things that he was doing, as much as I admired him. And if he was conventional, it would have never happened. He's focused on cost, trying to drive cost out of everything. Everyone else tries to make as much money as they can. And he is being attacked mercilessly over and over again, and I think unfairly.
The big three automakers, their cost basis is quite a bit higher than Tesla's.
Way higher. So every time they sell an EV, they sell one fewer gasoline car. And the gasoline car they make money on, and the EVs they lose money on. I would buy more if I could, but I can't. And other guys at our firm are nibbling. They do things like, this is a great price. When they introduce this Model 2, they're going to have the cost half of what it is right now. Half. So Warren Buffett initially would say, said 20 years ago or 15 years ago, he said that he wouldn't invest in Tesla. And now he says he would hate to compete against Tesla. In 18 months, they're going to have more compute than anyone in the world.
Right.
So what's the competitive advantage is the data, right. And the training is going to be provided by this compute, and they're going to have more of it than anyone. Nobody can catch them.
I'll never tire of hearing from Ron the Goat Baron, an absolute G, early Tesla investor, big supporter of Elon Musk, sharing his thoughts on Tesla, Elon, and SpaceX. Plus, how completely and utterly fine legacy automotive manufacturers will be. Not speaking of, you guys should really be subscribed on X and over on Patreon. A lot of the Tesla adjacent content, including the demise of legacy automotive manufacturers, is being covered in great detail on those platforms. Check the links in the pinned comment to join.
I think it's hard to not start with Elon Musk because you have been a huge Elon Musk supporter, an investor in his companies for a very long time, a booster of everything he's doing. And yesterday, Walter Isaacson's book dropped on Elon Musk. So it's been in the headlines. It's been something people have been focused on. Walter himself will say, look, he's an incredible innovator, an incredible entrepreneur, but he has these demons that chase him. And the book lays this out in great detail, starting with his relationship with his father. What have you thought? I know you haven't had a chance to read it all. It's a big, long book. You just got it yesterday. But what do you think of the stories you've seen to this point that suggest Elon even knows these issues, he struggles with it, and can't quite get out of the way of being his own worst enemy? I mean, you've said that he is the key man. He's the reason you invest in these companies, and the biggest risk is if something were to happen to him.
So I met him in 2010, and it took me 4 years before we began to invest. In 2014 to 2016 is when we bought the stock. We made about 20 times on our investment there. And then in SpaceX, we've been investing in that since 2017. And we're one of the largest investors in SpaceX.
It's not a publicly traded company,
no,
but what about your valuation?
We have about $1.7 billion invested right now. Wow. It cost us $700 million. $400 million of that is me. On Tesla, we have 17.5 million shares. 4.5 million shares is me. So we've been an investor for a long time, so I obviously believe. And initially when we invested, it was making me crazy when I was seeing some of the things that he was doing, as much as I admired him. But I do think that, and I calmed myself down, and I said, I really deserve to make a lot of money by investing in this and by staying with it. And we deserve. And what I thought was that what the point that Walter made yesterday was that untethered, these things can happen, and if he was conventional, it would have never happened.
So let me know in the comments below who started reading the Walter Isaacson biography. And to Ron's point, I mean, if Elon was just some normal dude, there would be no Tesla. There would be no SpaceX. There would also be no free expression of one's thoughts, opinions, and ideas on any social media companies on planet Earth. What else am I forgetting?
So he's the guy who got us electric cars. He's the guy who got us to space. If he was a conventional person, he was in Saturday Night Live, and he said, hey, dude, do you think I'm a normal person? I got you electric cars, and I'm going to take you to Mars. Seriously, am I going to be normal? And he's a very funny, engaging, smart, incredibly hardworking person. And I remember, so one story. When I went to a dinner in East Hampton about 2-3 weeks ago, when David Rubenstein was interviewing Walter, and they sat me at the table with Walter right next to the stage, and then David interviewed him. And then they mentioned me 3 or 4 times in that. And then afterwards he said, Ron, the guy knows more than anyone else here about him. Why don't you say something? And I said, I can't say something. This is your show, and I'm not part of that. And
but you're here now, so what would you say?
Well, one fast story is, I agree with Walter. He has to be untethered.
On this point, I wholeheartedly agree. In fact, I even have a piece of merch. Let Elon Elon. The dude really does need to be untethered, of course. A few folks out there, in fact, a lot of very vocal folks out there who haven't got the fucking memo. Hey Elon, please stop doing this thing. I'd stop it. Don't do that. Change. Be different. Stop sharing your opinions, Elon. Don't you understand that if you have an opinion, someone will get butthurt about your opinion? Don't share it, Elon. Hey Elon, why you buy Twitter, bro? Elon, you're hurting my stock performance in my ETF and my clients are mad. I might run for the... Oh, wait, I better not go there. Anyway, yeah, I think the point that I'm making is that, 1, Elon's gonna Elon, and 2, you should let him. Or don't own any companies that he's involved with, because your sphincter will constantly be contracting.
And then in addition to that, when he was a child, he talked about all the problems he had with his dad, and he escaped from those. He would go home and he would read the encyclopedia. Read the encyclopedia. That was his nickname from his mom, encyclopedia. And to any question he knew where, so he had a photographic memory. And what amazes me about him now is every time you ask him, how do you do that? How do you know that? How do you know what these things cost? He knows everything. It's a photographic memory. He remembers stuff. And so he's focused on cost, trying to drive cost out of everything. Everyone else tries to make as much money as they can.
This is an important observation from Ron Baron. Well, most other companies, CEOs, leaders are focused on increasing profits, making money. Musk, instead, is focused on driving costs down while also making the best products possible. This is how, over the long term, you win. We've seen an example of this in the launch industry, where the inept incumbents continued to milk gigantic contracts, cost plus, extract as much money out of NASA and others as possible. Musk's like, how about we just drive the cost of getting stuff to orbit down and then we will dominate. And in case you're not up to date, SpaceX alone is now currently launching more payload to orbit than the rest of Earth combined. Why? Because they weren't focused on profit. They were focused on driving costs down. Same is true of Tesla, who continue to scale per their 2006 master plan. In short, drive costs down, make products better, dominate. It's exactly what's happening. This ruthless focus on making things better and more affordable is how both Tesla and SpaceX are completely disrupting and transforming multiple industries. Imagine trying to compete with a company like Tesla. If your goal is to keep doing what you've been doing and keep milking the profits that you've been making, don't change too much, don't rock the boat, then you've got somebody like Elon driving the cost of compelling electric vehicles through the floor. It only ends one way. With Tesla, ironically, taking the lion's share of all the profits in the entire market. Not because they were trying to make money, but because they were trying to make better, more affordable products. As a side effect of that, they dominate market share.
He's focused on his mission, long term, which is to make planet habitable, and then also to, if something bad happens, to be able to keep humanity alive. There's only one mutual fund in the United States in the past 5 years, 10 years, 15 years has done better than that index. That's Baron Partners Fund. That's me.
You are a long-term investor. You do look at things over the long haul. And
one more
by the way,
thing about
congratulations.
that if you, so an index is a great way for people to invest. And so if you had invested in 1992 when we started Baron Partners Fund, $10,000 in the index in the S&P, it'd now be worth $200,000. $10,000 to $200,000 invested in the index. Of course, you invested $10,000 in Baron Partners Fund, it'd be $900,000.
So you've got to give credit to Ron Baron. Not only is he a very successful long-term investor, defying the odds, but he's also willing to flex the fact that he's an excellent long-term investor with incredible returns. Sometimes it's okay to state facts, and Ron is spitting quite a few of them right now.
Let's just get back to some of these questions with Elon, because I was there at the Baron conference last year, Baron Partners Conference, where you interviewed Elon, and you asked him on the spot. You said, hey, what are you going to do with Twitter to make sure that you don't get offended by some of the, not offended, I shouldn't say. Everybody gets offended on Twitter, and that's fair game. But you were concerned about anti-Semitic and hate issues that you thought were being amplified at the time. His answer to you, I think, satisfied you at that point. Do you still feel satisfied with that, especially given some of the stuff he's kind of dipped his toe into recently? Or you just think this is who he is, you got to take the good with the bad? I
think social media, he's probably finding it more difficult to manage than maybe even going to Mars.
Get f***ed, mate. No chance. This is hilarious. I hear this repeatedly. I mean, no disrespect to Ron. I appreciate him. I respect him. But managing a social media company, orders of magnitude more straightforward than the engineering required to get to Mars. Just the facts. Oh, but Elon doesn't understand people. Okay, let's talk in 10 years' time when Twitter is printing insane amounts of money and is also one of the world's most valuable companies. That's not to say what Elon is doing with X, formerly known as Twitter, is simple or easy, but comparatively speaking, bro, what Tesla has done, literal orders of magnitude more difficult than what Twitter is and will eventually do. Same with SpaceX. Not even close. Engineering toward the edge of physics, mass production of complicated objects at record speed, driving costs down, endless innovation, trying to solve the world's most difficult problems, developing real-world AI, as opposed to managing people who might say some mean things on the interwebs. Fuck me, dude. People seem to forget, by the way, that Elon is an internet guy. Remember Zip2, PayPal? Those happened before the rocket company and the electric vehicle company and the acquisition of Twitter, which is now known as X. I mean, the guy was writing video games when he was a teenager, literally coding them from scratch. And in case you haven't noticed, I think Elon Musk is the king of the internet. No, I mean that in terms of actual metrics. Who has more engagement on Twitter than Elon Musk? No one. Oh, that's just a coincidence. Really? Who is the most talked about name in the media? Elon Musk. Oh, that's just a coincidence. He doesn't know what he does. Just an accident. It's just... Elon is a brilliant promoter. Just because he does things differently doesn't mean he does them wrong. I mean, hello. Half of this segment on CNBS is about Elon Musk. Not Tesla, not SpaceX, but about Elon Musk himself. Oh, it's a coincidence that they're talking about him. But remember, Elon doesn't understand social media or people, and what he's doing with Twitter/X is a lot harder than colonizing Mars.
I mean, to deal with all the people and all what they think is hate speech and what they think is this guy has no way is he anti-Semitic. Right. I'm Jewish. The largest investor, Larry Ellison, in his firm happens to be, he says he's the wealthiest Jew in the world. He's Jewish. He's surrounded by advisors who are Jewish. That doesn't make you not anti-Semitic, but I've never seen anything that would indicate that he's anything but, pro people who are talented, and religion is not one thing that enters into it. Not religion, not race. People who work hard and people who achieve.
It's interesting, though. You think Twitter and dealing with people and questions of free speech may be more complicated than trying to figure out how to go to Mars and put rockets into space.
Obviously, no one can figure out getting to Mars except for him. And because he can reuse these rockets over and over again. No one else has been able to do that. No one. So not China, not NASA, not Russia, not Visa, no one. So he does. And that's remarkable. So when other people cost to get to space is hundreds of millions of dollars, and we can get there for a fraction of that, so we can sell, because you can use a rocket over and over again instead of going to London and getting on a 747 and throwing it away one time. So here he uses over and over again. And it's amazing what he's done.
He's good at rockets.
Good at rockets.
Remember someone said that.
Good at satellites.
Said that to me in an interview.
What did you make of what the ADL said, though? Because we had Jonathan Greenblatt on the program, and he said he didn't believe he was anti-Semitic either. Nor do I, and I'm Jewish, by the way. But there are things, obviously, that...
I know you're Jewish, actually.
No, but there are things on Twitter that I think you both of us would look at, and not just find offensive, but I think would clearly be in the category of hate speech and things that should not be there.
Where the fuck do I even start with this? Okay, so let's think about this. How many people are on Twitter? How many users? In the hundreds of millions, right? Okay, that's a lot of people. What's the prevalence of psychopathy in the general population? Anyone know? About 1 in 100. Sociopathy? About 1 in 100. Raging narcissists? You get the point. Mental health disorders? Probably significantly more than that. What are the odds that on a platform with literally hundreds of millions of users, there will be some people there who might say some things that you don't like? The odds are 100%. The question is X doing their best to ensure that things that are awful but lawful, as Linda Yaccarino put it, are not being constantly shoved down people's throats? This comment from Andrew seems kind of senseless to me. That's like saying, but surely you would agree that there are some people on Earth who say some things sometimes that you might disagree with. They might even be mean or offensive or racist or horrible. Yes, Andrew, what's your point? If you allow people, hundreds of millions of users, to instantly broadcast on a social media platform, sometimes they'll broadcast things that are not very nice or that you may disagree with. This is what we know as allowing people to freely share their thoughts, opinions, and ideas, even if you don't like to hear them, even if they're quite awful.
Look, I'm not expert in that. I'm expert in companies. And what I do, we happen to have a small investment in Twitter, now X, $100 million. It's $65 million for a fund and $35 million for me personally. And he's made us so much money. I figured, and they told me we can make a lot in this, but maybe we will, maybe we won't. I think it's a really laudable thing that he's trying to do, to give a forum where people can exchange ideas in real time and get the news real time. And he is being attacked mercilessly over and over again, and I think unfairly.
It's true. Elon Musk is being attacked mercilessly from just about every direction at the same time, and it's not fair or reasonable. And one must ask the question, why? Why would folks like Senator Karen the constantly attack Elon Musk? Answer is for political gain. Why would the corrupt president of the United States publicly a couple of years ago say that maybe Elon Musk's company should be looked into? Why would the Department of Justice be weaponized, threatening SpaceX with a lawsuit for not hiring enough American employees? Why would the falsely titled Anti-Defamation League be going after Elon Musk and X/Twitter with absurd claims and outright lies? Why would the hate stream media almost universally attack and slander Elon Musk? And the answer to every single one of these questions is because these people, these entities, these corporations, these political parties have an agenda. They're either being used as weapons to attack, to diminish, to slander, to discredit, or they're just desperate for attention. I don't think you'll find a single well-meaning person, organization, entity, company, not one, not a single one that's acting in good faith, that's ever attacked Elon Musk, period. They're all bad faith actors for one reason or another. So here's a little bit of a pro tip. Whenever you see an attack on Elon Musk, instead of looking at where the attack's headed toward Elon, look at where it came from and ask some questions. Why the attack? What's the underlying reason for this? What's the motivation? Because it sure as isn't a noble one.
I'm not expert in that, but I will be when I get interviewed another time here when I want to talk about X. I don't want to talk about X now, but I think there's a good opportunity for that company. We'll see how hard it is to achieve. But I think the more interesting things right now are Tesla and SpaceX. And Tesla, so we've been an investor in. So Tesla is now at a similar stage where it was in 2014, 2015, when I was investing, 16, and they were doing 40,000 cars a year. They're now doing 1.8 million, on the way to 20 million. And they've been growing 50% a year. And this year they'll probably be up, 25, 30%. Next year, about the same. But there's a new car coming.
25-30% revenue?
No, units.
Or units, okay.
Units. And then they got this, the battery business, which is $6 billion a year, and that's going to be up triple over the next 3 years, and that's going to go up 30 times.
There's been a lot made over the UAW and the potential strike that is facing the big three automakers here. And what's been brought up is they have all of these EVs that they have to deal with. Their cost basis is quite a bit higher than Tesla's.
Way higher. So every time they sell an EV, they sell one fewer gasoline car. And the gasoline car they make money on, and the EVs they lose money on.
The death spiral. We've got to talk about this. Ron is right. For those who don't know, if you're a regular viewer, you do, but there are some people who've only just stumbled across this channel today, so hi, welcome. Today, outside of China, there are no companies who sell electric vehicles and make money selling them. They lose substantial amounts of money. Even in China, those few companies making profits have razor-thin profit margins. They make a tiny bit. Over time, they'll maybe make more. Today, look at the automotive manufacturers. Example, Ford. Make all of their profits selling internal combustion engine vehicles, especially big trucks. And as Ron points out, every time, say, Ford sells an electric vehicle and loses literally tens of thousands of dollars selling that vehicle, they also have one less sale of an internal combustion engine vehicle, the vehicle that actually makes money when it's sold, as opposed to losing money when it's sold. But wait, there's more. Every time an electric vehicle is purchased instead of an ICE vehicle at these companies, their overall unit volume of ICE vehicles decreases. They sell less ICE vehicles, right? As a result of this, they start to experience reversing economies of scale. They have a lot of fixed costs. Those are distributed across the number of vehicles they sell. The fixed costs on their internal combustion engine vehicles. If less vehicles are being sold, those costs stay the same, meaning their cost per vehicle increases, meaning their profit margins on the vehicles they are still selling, which is less, also goes down. This is what's known as a death spiral. The more electric vehicles they sell, the more money they lose on electric vehicles, plus the more money they lose because they don't make the profits on the ICE vehicles, plus there's reversing economies of scale because their overall ICE unit volumes go down. This is really fucking bad, as in like existential bad, as in these companies are all going bankrupt bad.
The traditional OEMs are troubled right now, and I think ultimately, they're going to make metal, they're going to make the units, and ultimately they're going to buy software from Tesla. Tesla is going to be like Intel inside of a Microsoft computer. That's going to be Tesla. So Tesla's going to be everything that makes the car, all the inside is going to be Tesla. That's what's ultimately they're going to be licensed.
So let's be clear here. This is the best case scenario, and one I've discussed going back years on this channel. Best case scenario, if any of these legacy automotive companies actually do survive, they will become what I've described in the past as glorified window dressers. Everything that matters, made by Tesla. They slap their logo on the outside, do some window dressing. Oh, look, it looks like a Ford. Okay, it's got a logo on it. It's a Ford car. But everything that matters, made by Tesla, including the software. In the best case scenario, if these brands can leverage their customer loyalty, I'm a Ford guy, I'll never buy a Ford, maybe they survive. But Tesla ends up producing the batteries, the powertrain, the electric motors, and the software that's running the vehicle. If so, the profit margins that these companies, if they do survive, will actually make per vehicle sold will be almost nothing. But hey, at least they'll still be in business. Problem is, I don't think this is actually going to happen. I think they're more likely to go bankrupt eventually. But to Ron's point, this is the best case scenario, the most optimistic outcome for legacy automotive manufacturers. In the future, if they are still in business, Tesla will be providing the tech, hardware and software, and they'll just be the glorified window dressers, milking their brand for as much as it's worth, which won't be a whole lot.
Are you buying any additional Tesla or SpaceX, or have you kind of maxed out where you feel comfortable with your fund, which is a diversified fund?
In the funds that I manage, I've been maxed out. We had, when the stock went up 20 times after we bought it, we sold for clients about a quarter of the shares. I didn't sell a share personally. I committed to the directors of our mutual funds. I only invest in mutual funds normally. I made an exception in this instance, and I said I was the last in, I would last out, and I won't sell a single share for myself until we sell all of our client stock. And as far as buying more, I would buy more if I could, but I can't. And other guys at our firm are nibbling. They do things like, this is a great price.
For what it's worth, I too currently think Tesla stock is a great price, and that's putting it lightly. I might even go as far as to say it's the best risk-adjusted opportunity that I'm currently aware of in the stock market by a stupendous margin. Now, I'm sure there are better opportunities out there, but I just don't know about them.
This is when they introduce this Model 2, they're going to have the cost half of what it is right now. Half.
So it turns out that Ron Baron was actually listening at Tesla's Investor Day 2023 when they unveiled their modular manufacturing system and a bunch of changes to literally halve the cost of producing a compelling electric vehicle. I too was listening and made about 20 consecutive videos trying to point out what I'd heard. The strange thing is, Tesla was very disappointing. Tesla, you didn't show us a pretty rendering of the new car. I'm disappointed, Tesla. It was the reaction from just about everyone else. I don't know how to say it politely. What a bunch of dumb motherfuckers. How dumb do you need to be to not get half price compelling electric vehicle? Apparently Ron gets it. I'm not surprised. Although I am surprised that most other people didn't get it. I mean, it's pretty simple. Half price electric vehicle. Half price. Hello, half price. I'm so disappointed, Tesla. Where was the computer rendering of the new vehicle, Tesla? No picture. What? I'm disappointed. I'm never going to get over that. I just can't believe the level of potato.
And they're going to sell the car for, I don't know, maybe a third less than what it is right now.
So, were you listening? Because I was. That's an important point, and he's right. As I've mentioned, just because Tesla can halve the cost to produce a compelling electric vehicle does not mean they will be selling it for half the price. Why? There's a thing known as a market clearing price. I personally believe there is a flaw in terms of how affordable an electric vehicle needs to be, a compelling electric vehicle, to sell through probably 10 million or more units annually. I don't think that's $20,000. I think it was 20,000 bucks. They'd probably be doing 20, 25, maybe 30 million of these things. Tesla is going to price this at whatever they need to price it to ensure that wait times aren't stupidly long. Ron suggests it'll be maybe a third less than current generations of vehicles, which give or take about $40,000 in the US for an entry-level Tesla, meaning a purchase price give or take around $25, $26 or so thousand dollars. But if Tesla's producing the vehicle for half the cost, yet selling it for a third less, what does that mean? Higher profit margins, and this is exactly what I expect will happen. This is why I believe that over the long term, Tesla's gross automotive margins will continue to march steadily towards 30% with no end in sight. Oh, and should we talk about the next gen vehicle? It's probably going to cost them like about 12,000 bucks to manufacture. I don't think they're going to need to sell that vehicle for 15, 16 grand. I think they're probably going to sell it for a bit more, which means, yes, an even juicier profit margin. Again, this isn't Tesla being greedy. It's just Tesla making sure that whatever they're manufacturing, they're selling it at a price point, ensuring an equilibrium between supply and demand, so customers don't have to wait 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 years to actually take delivery of a vehicle that they're ordering, because it's just not reasonable. It's a very bad customer experience. Now, I don't know if Ron has some inside information from Tesla or he's just making an estimate, but I think he's onto something here. If it's half price to produce, but they're not selling it for half the price, that means a much bigger gross automotive margin.
Toyota almost bankrupted the whole automobile industry 20 years ago.
Ron, do you at the same time think that the big three have their work cut out for them? We're going to have UAW head on today, Sean Fain, and what the rank and file are asking for, given the uncertain future of whether Americans ever embrace non-Tesla EVs. I mean, would you think that the big three have their work cut out for them? Would you at least acknowledge that, do you think?
I haven't studied the big three relationships with the unions. I don't own them, although I really like Mary Barra, but I don't own them.
Would you like to compete against Tesla?
I would hate to compete against Tesla. So Warren Buffett initially would say, said 20 years ago, 15 years ago, he said that he wouldn't invest in Tesla, and now he says he would hate to compete against Tesla.
So let's be honest here. Competing against Tesla is tantamount to slowly committing suicide. You end up dead. And the last thing that you remember seeing before taking your final breath through the James Webb telescope is a blurry, distant image, which is Tesla, because that's how far ahead they are. You literally need a telescope to see them.
So to go on to this, so the Model 2, this is coming within, by 2025. When that comes, that's going to be exactly the same thing as what happened when Tesla introduced the Model S. So you're going to see this tremendous change going on there. And then, as I said before, the software, core competency, Model 2, half price, and then Dojo. So Dojo.
Oh, right.
Yes, I said, what is Dojo?
Yeah.
So Dojo is a training. And what that is, that they have this massive amount of data for all these cars that have been driving around for millions and millions of miles, and that keeps growing exponentially. No one has that. So they have this data, but to crunch the data, you need compute. And compute is what NVIDIA has. And NVIDIA has compute, a chip, which is for everyone to use. They have all these different, all these different, opportunities that this company has. What our company has is they're making their own compute. And they, in 18 months, are going to have more compute than anyone in the world, Tesla. And compute is stuff that's in your basement as opposed to the chip that's in your car. So what they're going to have is they will have so much massive capacity to provide services to cars and to be able to train this data, to train your car on this data.
Right.
So what's the competitive advantage is the data, right, and the training is going to be provided by this compute, and they're going to have more of it than anyone. Nobody can catch them.
Did Ron just say unassailable lead? I believe he did. Yeah, he did just say Tesla has an unassailable lead. No one's catching them. Surprisingly, I agree. In fact, I've been saying that for quite a while. People still don't seem to get this. They will, eventually. But it is currently obvious. No one is catching Tesla.
What Tesla has is last year, or this year, I think they have 3.5 million people seeking 30,000 jobs. Last year, they had 3 million people seeking 20,000 jobs.
I wonder what the numbers for Ford and GM look like. Now, this is important. As I've said in the past, Tesla has their pick of the bunch. The world's best and brightest. And I'm sure the world's worst and shitest also apply to work at Tesla. But Tesla gets to choose. As we've seen, surveys of graduating engineering students year after year. Where do you most want to work? It's almost always SpaceX, and if not occasionally, it's Tesla. They're always number 1 and 2. Everyone wants to work for Elon. Tesla literally has their pick of the world's best and brightest engineers, the best talent. They all want to work at Tesla. Everyone else has to pick from the leftovers.
In the case of SpaceX, you can invest in it. So basically, we have different mutual funds own it. Barron Partners funds own it. Barron Focus Growth Fund owns it, 8 or 10% of their portfolio. But it's really, this is going to be the largest company in the whole world. So I think Tesla in the next 7 years will be about 4 or 5 times as big as it is right now in the stock market. In this company, over the next, and that'll be worth trillions.
Ron is in for a rude shock. If I didn't know any better, I think Ron Baron thinks Tesla makes electric vehicles and maybe some batteries, which is true. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. Now, don't get me wrong. Most investors would be over the moon with those kind of returns. But for those of you who've seen my fair valuation for Tesla out over the next decade, which is produced by my valuation model, click the link in the pinned comment to join Patreon, you might understand why I vehemently disagree with Ron on this. I believe Ron is way off the mark to the downside in terms of Tesla's potential future valuation. don't think he's at all considering autonomy, AI training, robotics, licensing of FSD to other companies. I think Ron's thinking about a snapshot of 2014 Tesla, not looking into the future based on 2023 Tesla. And I hope he's around long enough to see how wrong he was on this call.
And this company, SpaceX, is going to be worth $500 billion, $600 billion. It's now $150 billion. It's $150 billion addressing a market capability of, according to Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, $1.2 trillion of annual revenues, growing, $1.2 trillion of annual revenues. And basically, they're going to get hundreds of billions of dollars of revenues for a company right now valued in the stock market for $150 billion. And nobody can compete because nobody can make these rockets go up and come down and land again. And then in addition to that, what is threatened here is cargo. They're going to have rockets that go from Nevada to Australia. You can move ordnance, you can move air freight, anything you want, 35 minutes, anywhere in the world. And so basically, that's what's going to happen for long term in this company. But they have all these in SpaceX, the competitive advantage. So the railroad to space. Okay, next.
Finish your thought.
So the railroad to space is one, and then the second thing is the satellites. And so railroad to space is the rockets, and the satellites are how they get there cheap.
Elon is an innovator, a dreamer, a believer, and you are too, and you've made a lot of money along the way being with him. Ron, I want to thank you very much for being here with us today.
So as we wrap this one up, I can confirm over the long term, the potential valuation for SpaceX is, wait for it, astronomical. Get it? Because, I know that was bad. I'm going to leave it in. For real though, the potential for SpaceX, like long term, like multi-decade, holy fuck. But it's going to take a very long time, in my opinion. So Ron makes a lot of very important points about Tesla, Elon Musk, the fact that the guy's a package and you get everything that comes in the package. It couldn't be any other way. If he was any different, or you put him on a leash and tether him, there'd be no Tesla, there'd be no SpaceX, there'd be no disruption. However, I do find myself disagreeing with a few of Ron's points quite strongly. Just between you and I think it is slightly more difficult to colonize Mars than transform X. And it also seems to me that Ron seems to be stuck looking at Tesla as it was 10 years ago as opposed to today, massively underestimating the future potential for the company. Or maybe I'm completely wrong and a decade from now I'll be really embarrassed. But when I'm not, I will be here to remind you. Athletic Greens AG1 has given me a massive, meaningful boost in energy, allowing me to do a lot more every day, including using my brain more and using my body more. I highly recommend you guys and girls check it out. Athletic Greens AG1 is an excellent way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's got 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus prebiotics and probiotics and digestive enzymes and adaptogens to help you deal with stress. Plus, if you click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, you can get yourself a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 and K2. But don't take my word for it. Here's what some of you guys and girls have to say. AG1 has changed my life. I was, as you described, treating myself like a circus, ate like trash, rarely exercised, used alcohol as a stress crutch, cannabis also. AG1 is what gave me the kick in the ass, got me back to the gym, motivated me to do more for myself, family, my business, etc. Keep doing what you do. Now, I know there's some skeptics, the same kind of people who think Elon Musk is a fraud, reading this going, what do you thought? There's no way that's possible, bro. It must be a placebo effect. Believe it or not, this is a recurring theme. If you give your body everything it needs to feel and perform its best, including having a lot more energy, you'll need ways to use that energy. For me personally, that includes more exercise, moving my body more social activity, and more cognitively demanding tasks, including producing a fuck ton of exclusive content over on Twitter and on Patreon, plus my daily YouTube uploads. The proof's in the pudding. On to another testimonial from a viewer of this channel. SMR, you asked me to provide feedback on AG1. Here it is. It has helped with mental acuity, stamina, and intestinal waste management. Can't read between the lines. It certainly helps with regularity and digestion. That's what the digestive enzymes are for. It has also dramatically reduced my cravings for sugar. You guys need to stop eating sugar. It's fucking poison. I'm 50, 5'9", and overweight, aka a fat motherfucker. I think that's a technical term for overweight, isn't it? Is it fat motherfucker or obese? I can't remember. I average 100 hours a week in the West Texas oil fields as a safety supervisor. Jesus Christ, dude. No wonder you're struggling to keep your weight under control. 100 hours a week. Brutal. It has helped me lose weight. It is not an appetite suppressant. It can help fat people suppress cravings, and motivation to be healthier is critical for changing your diet. Love you, brother. Again, this is a great point and something people really don't seem to grasp. If you have more energy, everything becomes easier. It's like turning on easy mode for life. A few years ago, before I was taking AG1, my health was trash. I was struggling to get through the day, had afternoon fatigue. The last thing I wanted to do was either use my brain or move my body. didn't have the energy. Now, my biggest struggle every day is figuring out ways to use that energy. I'm exercising way more, doing a lot more with my friends and family, and of course, my work output has increased substantially. And you can fact check me. Check out the average length of my videos I was posting to YouTube 3 years ago. Need I say more? And one final testimonial. Love this one. Okay, here's the deal for me with this AG1 shit. I'm 41 years old and not the type to eat, drink, smoke, or sleep healthy, so I was skeptical. That being said, here's what I experienced. Day 1, meh. Day 2, afternoon fatigue was about 45 minutes late. Day 3, 0 afternoon fatigue. Day 4, 0 afternoon fatigue plus extra energy. Day 5, again, 0 afternoon fatigue plus energy. Wondering, what the fuck, really? See, this is the thing, right? The results for many people are just almost too good to be true. This is the same experience I had. My afternoon fatigue just vanished out of nowhere. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Why am I not tired in the afternoons anymore? Surely it's not that AG1, is it? Turns out it was. Day 6 and 7, same thing. Day 8, same thing. Plus, I had the want to get things done around the house that I normally would slack off and not get done. Again, the point, extra energy, you'll need to use it. You'll find ways to use it. Day 9, 10, and 11, and today is day 12. I fucking love it. So however you managed to get me to buy it, I'm so glad you did. Thank you so much, SMR. It really changed me so far. Guys, this shit really works. Just try it. By the way, this is the reason I continue to relentlessly promote AG1. A lot of people get real fucking mad in the comments. Oh my God, Snake Oil Salmon's sold out. Oh my God, he's a scammer. This is fraud. But constantly, I'm pretty sure everyone making these comments is also currently short Tesla stock. I'm not particularly concerned about people having a negative perception, those folks suffering from small brain syndrome, still living in my bum's basement syndrome, etc., writing mean comments, claiming AG1's a scam or it doesn't work. I mean, bro, when I get feedback like this is what keeps me going. And remember, there is a 90-day money-back guarantee. There's nothing to lose here. Just try this stuff for a month, and if you don't get these results, get your money back. See, it's a literal no-brainer. It's an IQ test at this point in time. Testimonial after testimonial after testimonial like this. Get your money back if it doesn't work. Just try it for a month, and if it doesn't work, get your money back. Today's the day. It's finally time. Be like this guy who was a massive skeptic, but finally, after 1,000 promotions in a row, caved in, tried AG1, and has results like this. Head to drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link at the pinned comment, and please, let me know how you're feeling in a few weeks' time. Now, if you'll excuse me, time to put my extra energy to good use. I'll be recording some more exclusive content for Patreon and my Twitter subscribers. So click the links at the pinned comment. See you over on Twitter and or Patreon, and don't forget to grab your AG1. Love ya.